Hey there YouTube, Denise here from Dueling Bunnies, and today I actually wanted to make a video talking about Gravekeepers. Now, we all know that Gravekeepers have always been one of those decks that are very well known for their Royal Tribute plays and things of that nature. They're very good decks. Very rare that you'll find a Gravekeeper deck, that is not, very, annoying to get over. The Gravekeepers have been my main deck of choice. I've always been playing them. I've tried other decks, but I always run back to Gravekeepers because, I feel comfortable with them. It's my deck. Jonathan's deck is X-Sabers. He might play other decks, like a Chaos Plant deck that he built, but X-Sabers will always be his deck. That's why I stick to Gravekeepers. Now, this particular build of Gravekeeper deck that I made has actually taught me consistently at locals. I've been getting top 8, top 4, for weeks in a row, and I like it. It's getting me to where I need it to get. Now, I've been working on my strategy to actually try and win the local. Now, what I wanted to talk about in this video was a couple things. There's a lot of strategies that Gravekeeper players do not, recognize or know. And, a lot of people claim that, oh, Gravekeeper decks are boring, they're so autopilot, like they require no skill. And, in some occasions that is true, but that I blame it on not the deck, but the actual duelist playing the deck. There's obviously combos with Gravekeeper decks are so autopilot. For example, flip Spy, get a Recruiter, then normal summon Descendant, and it's just so autopilot. But when you take those combos and twist them into unique combos and plays, it just changes the whole strategy of Gravekeepers, and it really throws your opponent off, especially when you're running in a mirror matchup, which I do run to a lot in my locals. I do run into the mirror matchup a lot. So, when you take the herp derp combo, the combos that everybody knows of Gravekeepers, and you just change it into a unique combo, that's what makes the deck interesting, and that's what makes the deck, my deck at least, top. Now, with Gravekeepers, we all know that syncing, synchro summoning, and things of that nature are not very well known. But I do synchro summon in this deck. Very rare that it might happen, but when I do pull it off, it works. Now, there's cards like Blackwing Gale that a lot of people run, and I run it. I main it actually in my deck. This card is awesome when I draw it. Not only does Gale have an amazing effect, but Gale is a great tuner. It's a level 3 tuner. And a lot of I've seen Gravekeeper duelists, for example, Yugi Dudes on YouTube. I'll put his link in the channel in the description below. He mains Plague Spreader. Now, Plague Spreader is a really interesting choice as well, that I could see it working in a Gravekeeper deck. Not only that, because also when it lands into the graveyard, you can always bring it back because his effect resolves in the graveyard. So you're not really targeting, it resolves in the graveyard, so he can always come out. It's a great alternative, but I always like to stick to Gale because Gale, definitely just, I don't know, I'm not so sold on Plague Spreader. It's a good tech choice, and I would recommend trying it. But definitely, I would main a Gale in Blackwings in Gravekeeper decks. He's definitely my favorite combo, I guess, with this would be Gale and Recruiter to sync into a Brionic. That way my Recruiter gets its effect when it goes to the graveyard, so I can search for whatever card I need as an answer for next turn. So definitely syncing into a Brio works. Also, Exceed Summoning. I really don't like Exceed Summoning with my Recruiter, only because, of the new Exceed ruling. You can't get its effect, but basically you're going to be overlaying into a Leviathan Dragon. And Leviathan is another great tech choice for Gravekeeper decks. A lot of people say, oh, well, you can't really run an extra deck in Gravekeepers because you don't synchro summon, you don't, do much. But that is really definitely a lie. Gravekeepers have amazing potential with synchro summoning and exceed summoning when you know how to pull it off right. So definitely, that's why, you know, I definitely recommend running a tuner, some kind of tuner in the Gravekeeper deck. You never know when it'll come in handy. I usually hold Gale for a while until I really see an opportunity or an opening for me to really let loose and take control of the field. Usually the times that I will synchro summon is when I see that I'm getting field advantage, meaning there's not a lot of spells or traps in the background or in the back row, sorry, if any. I like to usually clear the back row or bait the back row of those warnings and the judgments and whatnot before I bring a synchro summon, because I want to get all of my opponent's outs out of the way. They're not expecting me to synchro summon with a Gravekeeper deck, because no Gravekeeper deck really synchro summons, and that's just how it is. You know, all the duelists that don't synchro summon with Gravekeepers, that's just reinforcing the fact that Gravekeepers are not good for synchro summoning. All the herp plays of Gravekeepers, you know, I do this, they do that, and that's it. You know, they don't step out of the box. So you definitely want to hold on to Gale in your hand. And when you see that opening, when you have that field advantage, summon, sync, search, and then, you know, and surprise them that, you know, you actually do synchro summon with this deck. And that definitely throws your opponent off, because no one expects Gravekeepers to synchro summon. Another very important aspect of Gravekeepers that I'm throwing in a lot, and I've been pulling off very frequently with my Gravekeeper deck, is with Spy. And any 2 level 4 monsters. I usually try to use level 4s that at the time I'm not using, so Assailant would be a good tech choice. What else? I usually try to do 2 Assailants, or Assailant and Commandant, or if I really do have to, it would be like Assailant and Descendant together. But anyways, let's say I'll do Assailant and Commandant right on the field, and a Spy on the field. What I'll do to also throw my opponent off this way, and again, you want to make sure that your opponent has no outs into stopping you from doing this, guys. You got to play safe, and you got to know, you know, when are the right times to do these kind of moves and combos. But what I'll do is I'll overlay these 2 monsters and bring out a Zenmeister. Pop off a card, which will usually be a Commandant, because when you steal and you really need that Necro Valley, you can always bring him to hand. Material. The name just got off my head. To flip Spy face down. At the end of my turn, I get to flip Spy again, get its effect, and probably summon a Descendant or whatever it may be at the time. And it's just a really great combo as well. Your opponent's not expecting it, unless, you know, they're obviously very very good and they have outs to anything. But Zenmeister is another great combo when you have Spy on the field. It just shows you have versatility in your deck, and you're very versatile into coming up with very unique plays. You want to freak your opponent out into being like, hey, you know what, I'm going to bring out a little bit of everything in this duel, so be ready, be prepared. That's how I like to give my opponents that mentality. I go in with a lot of confidence, guys, and that's another thing with Gravekeepers is, you know, they see a Gravekeeper duelist, and they're like, oh, okay, well, I got to be ready for that roll tribute first turn, I got to be ready to nobleman that Spy, and do this, do that, do that. And you know what? It's like they feel like they can already read us, and quite honestly, I really don't like that. I don't like being underestimated as a duelist because I'm running a particular deck. I will come up with every single combo out there in the universe to try to confuse you, to try to stop you, and to just show you that, you know what, I'm going to make this deck so versatile that you're not ready for it, and come back when you are. That's the mentality I go into every duel, and that's why I've been consistently topping. Not only am I running a deck that I'm comfortable with, that's easy to run. If there's times where I'm just not feeling it, or it's a really easy opponent and I don't want to go like all out with all the combos and synchro and this and that, I'll just do the normal plays and beat him that way. Or, you know, when there's a really tough opponent who I know knows what they're doing, and has a really good deck that I'm facing, I definitely need to change the game a little bit, because they're expecting me to be an easy opponent, an easy game win, and that's not what I do. I definitely give my opponent a hard time. If they do win the duel, they're gonna have a hard time doing it. They're gonna know that I gave them a hard time to bring my life points down. I'm gonna give them a hard time getting over my monsters, and I'm just gonna give them a hard time in general by stopping my field presence. So this is just something to think about. There's going to be a part 2 and maybe a part 3 to this about Gravekeepers. Usually I definitely want to talk about the side deck, extra deck, and different card tips and tech choices that you can be putting into a Gravekeeper deck, because definitely Gravekeepers are not dead this format, guys. They're stronger than ever, I think, and if you know how to build them correctly, you'll definitely have a good chance at topping at your locals. And if you do take it competitively, you might not win or top, but you're definitely going to see your opponents giving them a hard time, and who knows, you might be able to top something like a regional with this particular deck build. So be looking out for part 2. I will talk about also strengths and weaknesses of Gravekeepers. I will be talking about tech choices, side deck choices, and extra deck choices to practically help you run Gravekeepers as best as possible. So thanks for watching, guys. Please make sure to hit the subscribe button. It won't hurt you. It won't bite you if you do. Feel free also to like this video and leave a comment or a video response telling me about your favorite tech choices in Gravekeepers and your favorite combos that you pull off all the time with your Gravekeeper deck. And also feel free to check out these 2 channels that I'm about to shout out. Number 1 is going to be VCT RFS2. He's a great YouTuber, and he's been supporting our channel, so I definitely want to thank him for doing so. So make sure that tell him that we sent you. And also check out Yugi Dudes. He's an up-and-starting YouTuber, one of our favorites, and he definitely is a trusted trader. Me and Jonathan have traded with him before, so if you're into that, trading on YouTube and whatnot, he's a great guy to look at. Make sure that you subscribe to him and let him know that we sent you as well. So thank you for watching, guys, and be looking out for part 2. Bye.